Hello, this is Shankar, and it is easy to explain some principles of astrology by means of a chart. So here I'm going to explain you some principles of astrology. I'm not saying that I'm predicting anything. I'm trying to explain you some principles which you can always use. Now, one of the most important things I will explain you here is what happens, how to analyze a particular chart. And here I've taken the chart of Mr. V.G. Siddartha, late V.G. Siddartha, who had a life where he had a meteorical rise. At a time, his family was in coffee plantations. In India, nobody used to take coffee. So, he said, मैं लोगों को coffee पिलाना चाहता हूँ. I want to make people have coffee. Now, there was no demand of coffee. People never used to take coffee. So he said, and he came to know that people were, trying थोड़ा बहुत coffee machine या coffee लोग लेना शुरू कर रहे हैं. So he was a man who started, he initially acquired a small firm of coffee machines बनाना शुरू करे. He made coffee machines, that became good. After that, he said, let me take some plantations. He took coffee plantations. He was a man in hurry. बहुत जल्दी. Then he said, let me make some money, let me get into stocks. Stocks was coming, he took into stocks, and some of the biggest companies, like today, I've read somewhere that even company like Infosys, whose stocks were not subscribed, he took them and earned billions. He went into stocks, he earned into stocks. And then he did various businesses very fast, one after the other. जल्दी में, आदमी जल्दी में था. एक काम करता, दूसरा business, तीसरा business. From that money, he took more money. He started his fourth business. He became a billionaire. He was making money in shares. He was having a coffee machine. He had coffee plantations. And finally, he said, let me start a very new thing, which is coffee chain, which is known as Cafe Coffee Day. He started Cafe Coffee Day, and Cafe Coffee Day became popular. He brought coffee into the country. And then he died. And then he committed suicide. So here is a horoscope of a person who was a man in hurry, who made millions of rupees. एक business से लोग कहते हैं अच्छा नहीं, एक business है, दूसरा business है, तीसरा business. He kept on taking money, borrowing money, taking risk, going ahead. Made his millions. Was also from a good, had political connections, everything. Ultimately, one fine day at the age of 60, he told his driver, मेरा गाड़ी को पार्क करो, come after 1 hour. He took out his specs, kapde utar ke rakhe, and he committed suicide. A billionaire who committed suicide by drowning himself. When the driver came after 1 hour, the driver said, 1 घंटे बाद आना, 1 घंटे बाद driver आया, he had committed suicide. From nothing to a billionaire to committing suicide. So let us see how this horoscope pans out. Now, we are not sure about the date of birth, so I will go by my Bhrigu Nadi system, where we usually take Jupiter into consideration, and then the moon into consideration. If you look at a snapshot of his horoscope, moon is exalted, means बहुत ही अच्छा brain, दिमाग का बहुत ही तेज. But there are no planets on both sides of moon, and moon is a planet which is emotional. It is all emotions. Moon, मेरे हिसाब से, is a cheat. चंद्रमा cheat करता है. Chandrama is a planet which tends to cheat. It is a karak of mother. It is a karak of emotions. But it is also a karak where it makes you to cheat. मतलब आदमी को जो हेराफेरी करता है, या पैसा मार लिया, या cheating कर लिया, या धोखा दे दिया. In relationships and in business, it is a planet which makes you cheat. That is why I've seen people having Gajkeshri Yog. कहीं ना कहीं they get into some kind of controversy depending upon other planets. So Gajkeshri only means कि आप हाथी के ऊपर बैठेंगे. You will have a car in today's. Now, how big a car, that is a different thing. So Chandrama is exalted. It is in the sign of Venus. Its depositor Venus is with Mars. Now Venus, basically, if you look at this horoscope, if you look at it, Venus and Surya, any planet which is in the house of Leo is good. Leo is sun. मतलब ग्लोरी के अंदर है, शुक्र भी इसके अंदर है, मंगल, स्पेशली व्हेन मार्स इज विद सन, you are sitting in the house of the king and you are a good executor. So his moon had the impact of Mars and Venus also. It had the impact, it had the energy. हर planet के अंदर energy देखना चाहिए हमको, इस planet के अंदर क्या energy होता है. तो moon का जो lordship है, जो one is of emotion, talking to people, लोगों को बेवकूफ बनाना, सोशल मीडिया एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, एवरीथिंग बाय मून. मून इज हाउ यू टॉक, हाउ यू कैन कन्विंस अ पर्सन, सामने वाले आदमी को शीशे में कैसे उतारना. इट्स ऑल मून. इट्स टुडे इट्स ऑल मून. एंड मून हियर इन द हाउस ऑफ वीनस which gets going with Mars. तो जो मून की एनर्जी वीनस में आई है, और वीनस इज ऑल अबाउट व्हाट? इट इज in the Kalpurush, this thing, it is house of Taurus and Libra. Taurus is about finance, family, money, and 7 is about partnerships. Now here, this planet Venus comes and sits with Mars. Mars here is generally is an executor, soldier है, मेरे को करना है तो करेंगे. अगर नीच का होगा तो एक तरीका है करने का, अगर उच्च का होगा तो एक तरीका है करने का. यहाँ पर Mars is in the house of Leo, so this person was not a person who went from the back to do things. सामने से गया होगा, सामने से बात करी होगी, आगे से बात करके let me do a thing. That was his main philosophy in life. Now the depositor of this whole thing, Mars and Venus, is in Sun, which is the house of Cancer. Depositor of Mars and Venus, which is Sun, because in the house of Leo, वो जो है अपने से 12वें में चला गया है और रेट्रोग्रेड मरकुरी के साथ बैठ गया है. Whenever a planet, whenever a sign has Mercury retrograde there, that particular sign के कारतत्व खराब हो जाएंगे. तो it spoils two things. It spoils the sun and it spoils the कारतत्व of the sign of Cancer. Cancer is the sign of masses. It is the sign of money. It is the most important, one of the most, 3 houses you should be very careful, at least 2 houses. I mean, I say Cancer, Scorpio and Pisces. These people, you can never judge them. कितने गहरे हैं और क्या कर सकते हैं. You can never judge these people. So you'll see a lot of politicians who have got Kark Lagna, Cancer, because they can en masse talk. They are not talking to one person. बहुत लोगों को बात करके ये बता सकते हैं. तो इस आदमी का मार्स एंड वीनस जो है, उसका डिपॉजिटर जो सन है, वो मर्करी के साथ बैठा है कैंसर में. सो ही वाज एबल टू कन्विंस अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल and a lot of people in high authorities, because sun is high authorities, for Mercury, in पैसा के लिए, कि हम तुमको बताते हैं, तुम अगर ये काट पीट करोगे तो ये पैसा बनाओगे. His whole, whenever sun and Mercury together, Mercury divides. Mercury क्या कहता है कि तुम किस तरह किस चीज को काटो, किस तरह किस चीज को डिवाइड करो. Even in relationships, I'm here not talking about relationship, but because I'm talking about profession here. Even in relationships, Mercury tells, यार काटो, हटो. It's like a small child. कुछ करो, भागो. So here, Sun is with Mercury. So here his whole philosophy with the government was कि यार कुछ ऐसा दिखाता था कि मैं ऐसे काटूंगा, मैं ऐसे करूंगा, मैं ऐसे करूंगा. So you will make money. So this is what is the relationship. I would never say the 12th house is wrong. But there is a relationship of 2nd and 12th between Mars and Venus and Sun and Mercury. So whatever he got through Mars and Venus, मतलब Venus से जो पैसा आया जिसके अंदर मून की एनर्जी है, और Mars में has both the houses of Mars are not there. 1 and 8 में कोई planet नहीं, तो Mars is purely Sun, has got the energy of Sun. So a very good person जो सामने से अपने एग्जीक्यूट कर रहा, और वीनस के अंदर मून की एनर्जी है, तो थोड़ा सा चीट करने का, लोगों से बात करने का, लोगों से वो करने का, दैट इज देयर. नाउ दिस टुगेदर इन द हाउस ऑफ लियो मीन्स अपने आप बड़ा आदमी बनना है, इन द हाउस ऑफ लियो. और इसका जो डिपॉजिटर है वो सन, उसका जो लॉर्ड है सन, अपने से 12वें में गया है और मरकरी के साथ गया. तो हिज होल फिलॉसफी वाज कि मैं कर लूंगा, मैं इसको पावर जो लोग पावर में हैं, जो लोग पॉलिटिशियंस हैं, जिससे पैसा लेना, उनको मैं किसी तरह थ्रू मरकुरी अपने इंटेलिजेंस से, अपने शेयर्स दिखा के, अपने काइंड ऑफ बिजनेस प्लान दिखा के, आई विल बी एबल टू गेन, आई विल बी एबल विद दिस एक्सपेंड डूइंग दिस, ही विल बी एबल टू run this Mars and Venus show. So this is what you have to see. Now, in the front of Mars and Venus is Rahu. Now, Rahu is a planet of illusion. राहु के बिना तो कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता, कोई आदमी बड़ा आदमी बन ही नहीं सकता. इसका जो Mars and Venus, which is the main planet, which is here, which is also, and here Venus का depositor Jupiter है. So because Venus becomes a depositor of Moon and Jupiter. So I have explained you, whenever Moon and Jupiter are together, it makes you a very big Gajkeshri yoga. These two planets का energy जब भी जाएगा in Venus, it makes a Gajkeshri yoga. आदमी जब बात करेगा तो ऐसा बात करेगा कि हाथी बात कर रहा, हाथी चल के आ रहा आपके सामने. So that was the power of a Venus. और वो भी लियो के साइन में, तो personality was solid. And that too with Mars, good executioner. So these things were together. But ahead of this was Rahu. Now Rahu is, देखने में तो सब ऐसा था, बट पीछे से राहु क्या करता, राहु प्लान्स वेरी बिग, बहुत बड़ा सोचता है. बिना राहु के आप बड़ा आदमी बन नहीं सकते हैं. राहु वाज इन द हाउस ऑफ विर्गो, विच इज इट्स एक्सॉल्टेशन साइन. उसका मतलब बहुत ही सॉलिड साइन है राहु. नाउ देयर राहु, पीछे जो इसका दिमाग था वो ऐसा था, आई मीन दिस पर्सन वुड हैव हैड अ माइंड वेयर ही वुड थिंक लार्ज एंड ऑल्सो नो हाउ टू create an illusion. And the house of Virgo is of more of telling people कि आप जमीन पे क्या कर सकते हैं. So he would have been also involved in land, he would have been also involved in shares, he would have also been involved in those any kind of things. 2 and 7 are there, so Venus is there, he's involved in food, coffee, that is very clear here. So with that all in mind, his Rahu basically, I don't know what word to use, but Rahu was able, ऐसा मतलब it's a sophisticated thief. He was a very intelligent person who could actually deceive people, because Rahu is third from Sun. So from the government also, he could tell the government, people in authorities, Mercury is all about bank, वहाँ से Rahu third है, so he could tell people that plan big plans, and it is an exalted Rahu, so they used to believe in it. But sadly what happens is that after Rahu comes the planet Jupiter, which is in the house of Venus, जो उसका दोस्त नहीं है. तो Rahu has to get some support from some planet to, when you have to become very big. If Rahu becomes the king in your planet, Rahu needs to have support. You will see the horoscopes of billionaires. I know the horoscope of a billionaire here who has Rahu in Lagna, in say Libra or in any house. But Rahu जब राजा बनता है तो उसके सामने वाले घर में उसके मंत्री होते हैं. The 7th house to it is the house of the people advisors, the ministers. So that should be there. इनके सामने वाले घर में राहु का कोई नहीं है. राहु से 5वां, which is very important, there is nothing. राहु से 9th he has moon. So because राहु से 9th he has moon, it is again that characteristic of आदमी को, I don't want to use the word cheat, but he was able to convince them by his talks, by his communication, by his mouth, by his appearance, by his strategies that he could do. But Rahu के आगे जो Jupiter आ गया, that became a block, because Rahu goes backwards and the planet which comes in the front of it is Jupiter, which is in the house of Venus, which blocks it. That is the block. And behind, after Rahu and Jupiter, comes Saturn, and then finally it comes Ketu. So you have to see that Rahu, which becomes the most important planet here, because it is next to the house of Mars and Venus here, does not get any support. However, it goes and meets Saturn. Because Rahu met Saturn, it also made him a big man, a lofty man, a man who could think big. And Saturn goes in it. Saturn retrograde also looks at the house besides it. So he also did a lot of underhand activities, not underhand deals, which cannot be seen, behind the scene. he would have done a lot of things. So that supports him for some time, and that support is only till the time till the time Saturn and Rahu. I mean, Rahu goes to meet Saturn, but is Jupiter is in between. So let me explain you like that. When we do the horoscopes of analysis of horoscope, Rahu पीछे जा रहा है, Saturn भी पीछे जा रहा है. In this case, that is why I'm saying Rahu goes to meet Saturn. But जब दो लोग मिलने जा रहे हैं, Saturn and Rahu दोनों मिलने जा रहे हैं, had Jupiter not been here, then this person would have been a billionaire. He would have been a big man. But Jupiter stops him. Jupiter stops the person. And when Saturn wants to move ahead, the planet which is moving ahead, in his case, too many retrograde planets are there. So Ketu is also a retrograde planet, which in my case in system moves backwards. Ketu comes and meets Saturn. Ketu is end. Ketu is in the house of pieces. Pieces is end. तो जो केतु जो इनका घर है, एंड के घर में है, और वो सैटर्न से मिल रहा है, और सैटर्न इज द कारक ऑफ प्रोफेशन. सो हिज एंड would come due to a reason which is concerned with profession. I'm sure that his death has been not due to a reason of any relationship issues or any other issue, but purely due to the reason of his profession. Because Sagittarius is also a very tough sign, and Sagittarius is a sign of fortune. Now here Ketu comes and meets Saturn. Saturn is the karak of profession. So Ketu puts an end to the activities of Saturn. So that is how you have to see, the play of planets in terms of what is going to be एक आदमी की life कैसे चलेगी. Now the level which he will go has to be seen differently. You have to rotate Jupiter. But while we rotate all planets, in my Bhrigunadi system, the way I do is it's not Bhrigunadi or everything is coming from our sages. Somebody perhaps has compiled them. But the important thing is when you are rotating all these planets, you should rotate each and every planet simultaneously. You just cannot rotate only Jupiter or only Saturn or only Mars. You have to rotate all the planets, superimpose transit on that. Superimpose the transit of the day on that, the day while you're seeing the horoscope, because that day's planetary position is also, that moment's planetary position is also very important. Then you come to a conclusion. But here, if you see on a very scale, the way you have to see profession is, and the way you have to see a man's personality, how he gets it. Either do it from Jupiter. If you do it from Jupiter also, the lordship of Jupiter is Venus. Venus is Mars. Venus and Mars has Rahu in front of it. It has Sun and Mercury at the back of it. Then it meets Saturn, which is not its friend. And it has Ketu, which puts an end to his profession. So that is how you have to see in anything. Even if you see Saturn, in his case, finally moves and meets Ketu. But Saturn here is retrograde. So because it becomes retrograde, it gets the advantage of Moon, 5th house, Sun and Mercury. But at the end of the day, whenever there is any horoscope, whenever Saturn is there and Ketu is in front of it, the person will not be happy in profession. In a normal case where Saturn is not retrograde, or when Saturn is direct and you have Ketu ahead of it, the profession of that man will be unstable. He will be unstable in profession because Ketu cuts, Ketu divides. Some places people say Ketu is Dhwaj, etc., etc. But Ketu is Vairagya, Ketu is cut, Ketu is division. So it leads to all these kinds of things. So this is how you have to see make an assessment of the horoscope of a particular place, and in that I give importance to Jupiter and Moon. And here the play of the planet is very, very clear here. Even if you start from Jupiter, it is in the house of Libra, which is business partnership. The lordship is of Venus, which is in the house of Leo. It is also the depositor of Moon. Moon and Jupiter, Venus being a depositor is not very good. It gives the Gaj ke Shriyu, but for a small time. It has Mars good executioner. Mars and Venus gives him all luxuries of life, a good wife, good life, good luxuries. It is depositor 12th. 12th will always reduce the power of this particular combination. So, it is spending money recklessly. One of the reasons he has lost a lot of money was that he got money, he took risks, and he did too many things at one time. That was one of the reasons why this gentleman actually must have lost a lot of money. मैं एक चीज पे टिका नहीं, एक चीज पे ढारस नहीं रखी, एक चीज करी, दूसरी चीज करी, तीसरी, जहां पैसा देखा वहां भागता गया. That is what Sun and Mercury does. Rahu made him what he was. He became a millionaire, billionaire at the end. And I've explained to you how Rahu works. Rahu's depositor is Mercury, which is with Sun again. So when Mercury becomes the depositor of Rahu, it becomes very, very dangerous. It becomes a potent horoscope to make you a big man, but in a very different way. And retrograde planets, always remember, you can never guess how a retrograde planet is going to behave. In his case, you have Saturn retrograde and Mercury retrograde. Mercury is also like Rahu and Ketu are always retrograde. So retrograde planets, you do not know how you will behave. So he never understood how would he deal with the masses and how he would deal with the people. And 9th Saturn retrograde, his fortune, his luck, how would it fluctuate? One would never understand, because retrograde planets sometimes give you, and mostly they give you to take it, and sometimes they do not give you, and sometimes they give you in a convoluted way. Because retrograde planets, my feeling is, it's a lot of karmic debt. They hold a lot of karmic debt within themselves, and that karmic debt, what is there and how it is going to play, is something which has to be analyzed very, very deeply before you come to any analysis of retrograde planet. The planet which also tells you about your past karmas of your past is Moon, and the other two planets which tells you what are you getting from the past is Rahu and Ketu. Rahu is the giver, Ketu is the taker. So these planets should immediately see, retrograde planets, you should immediately see in a horoscope. Whenever you see Jupiter retrograde in a 7th house, you can say that the person's married life will not be good. Wherever Jupiter is retrograde, whichever house it is there, it will spoil the Kartattva. This is one principle I'm telling you, you can try it out. Similarly, and Jupiter retrograde will spoil the live things. Saturn retrograde also will spoil the live things. They may not spoil the non-live things. Saturn retrograde in 5th house may not give you a child, but it may give you money. It may give you money from speculation. It may give you easy money. Those things can come. So there is a difference in live and non-live things. Of each planet, the sign, the lordship, and you have to always see the planets which are second to a planet, 12th to a planet, 5th to a planet, 7th to it, 9th to it, 7th to it. And also then the 6, 8, 12 relationships which also get formed here. Like in this case, Saturn has got a 6, 8, 12 relationship with Sun and Mercury. So immediately when you see Saturn, you should see which planet is 8th to it. If there are a large number of planets 8th to it, the horoscope is pulled down. So whenever you're seeing profession, always look at the planet which is are there any planet which is 6th, 8th, 12th to it. The planet which is 11th to it, it always be good. Rahu, whenever it is 10th to Saturn, Rahu, whenever 10th to Saturn, a person will earn money but will earn to lose. Even if Saturn is there, and in government offices I've seen whenever Saturn is there, police officers, etc. Wherever Rahu is in 10th from Saturn, I've seen them getting into litigations, into problems of bribe, and getting false, right or wrongly, into some issues of bribe and money. So that is how you have to see. With one planet, Saturn, you can actually see the whole profession, career, the way it is going to go, the trend which is going to happen. Astrology is a science which absolutely tells you the trend. I do not know, I do not make any prophecies that it can tell you exactly how an event will happen, what will happen, will it happen in 5 days, 10 days, how the event will unfold. But yes, it gives an idea, it gives you a probability, it gives you a kind of leeway of how you can lead your life, because there is prarabdha, and that is also a lot of it is also your free will which is there. Astrology has free will, which is shown by Sun, Moon, and Mercury, shows you the amount of free will you have been born with. So that free will can make that particular portion of your life, or all portions of your life, if you work, better. So that is how you have to see a horoscope. This is the interesting man of a person in hurry, wanting to make quick money. He made big money, he lost big money. He was from a very, very rich family. He became a billionaire, and then he had to commit suicide, perhaps from his horoscope, for reasons of profession. And Mercury retrograde is like not dealing with money properly, not dealing with his paperwork, his money, etc., not doing in the right way. Because Mercury, whenever in the house of Moon and with Sun, you will see that person will not be able to do his paperwork, his signatures, his things which are very necessary for today's business. He will mess up there and put himself in problems with government. So that would have been his whole life negativity. And even if he wouldn't have been that big a man, whenever Sun and Mercury retrograde are 8th from Saturn, it will give this kind of tendency will always happen. A person should be careful. So that is how you have to see. By just putting Saturn and by rotating all planets, you can see what is going to be the profession of a particular person, and how it is going to be can be seen by the charts, by the transits. We have hundreds of dashas which have to be applied, etc., etc., depending on what you want to tell. But yes, one can, in a snapshot, counsel people, tell people a lot of things. And today, very important is mental health. Mentally, people are very disturbed. Mentally, people, as I said, that people are not happy in what they have in their control. Today, I have in my control is my happiness, my family, whatever 10 rupees I have in my hand. I should be happy with things which I in control. This water I have, but I want to take distilled water. I want to buy a particular better thing to have. My happiness is in buying a Mercedes or buying a bigger car than what I have, etc., etc. And that is where the problem comes. And that planet which does all that is Rahu. And it is a planet which is going to, which controls a lot of things. And Rahu's friends is Venus, which amplifies everything. So that's how you have to say. Saturn also, helps Venus and Rahu in these things. Mars is a neutral planet which executes the orders of the Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon, you remember, they're kings and queens. They're sitting on the throne, so they get the advice. They do as per what is the advice they get. So that is how you have to see the planets and then come to a conclusion. So this end my video, and I also give some gyan also to people while doing the video. And consult me. My WhatsApp number is 9818733000. Thanks. Bye for now.